What's up, people? So in this video we're going to briefly touch on the subject of spirit guides and who they are, how they communicate with us, etc. So a spirit guide or spirit guides can be anything that's ever been an incarnation, either on this planet or another planet. It can also be something that has never really incarnated physically but exists as a consciousness, as an energy, as a soul, as spirit. So they can literally be ascended masters, angels, goddesses, deities, gods, aliens, other galactic beings. Can be animals as well as nature, plants. Yeah. Oh, as well as ancestors that you may have never met in this lifetime, and as well as family members who have passed over into spirit soul form. It can also be your past incarnations, as well as your highest self. Now, the type of guides you get depend on your personal purpose in life and what you're here to sort of achieve and develop, I suppose. Some people only have one or two guides. Other people will have groups of guides at different stages of their life, different stages of their development and path. And how they communicate with us, it sort of mostly depends on your individual sort of extrasensory abilities. So if you have psychic vision, they will show you images in your mind's eye. If you are telepathic, they will telepathically communicate with you. If you smell and taste things, they'll use those senses and things to bring certain smells and things that mean whatever it means to you. And there's quite a number of different sort of clair, sentient, psychic abilities. You can search them online. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. But there are also things like people who have the ability to just access information and get downloads that way. So suddenly you ask a question and bang, the answer's within you. I think people call them downloads. Or like this inner knowing, like some people just know things or don't know something and then suddenly the information is within them. And it's accurate, it's real stuff. It's not like you can prove that the information you're receiving is real, either by sort of communicating with another individual who may have experienced that thing, or by simply searching it online and trying to have a more 3D human understanding of it that way. If you are somebody who isn't aware of their sentient abilities, like their clair psychic abilities, if you don't know how to sort of understand your third eye, or if you don't know you're telepathic and you're actually receiving information but you might think it's your own thoughts, your guides will then use external things that are in your current physical 3D reality to try and draw your attention and sort of communicate whatever it is trying to communicate with you. It may literally be like another person who you've like had an interaction with and they've given you some information which then leads you to what you need to sort of find out, learn, know. Sometimes they use songs. If you have an understanding of like angels and things like that, or like animal totems, they'll use those to communicate with you as well. Now, the language they use is quite symbolic, particularly at the start, when you're just sort of communicating with your spirit guides. You're just sort of getting to like know them, know yourself, know these other abilities that you actually do have. We all have these other abilities, we just don't quite understand how to use them. And like for me, I thought a lot of my things were me imagining things. I didn't realise I had psychic vision. I just thought I imagined a lot of things and I just picked up on information throughout my life, so I just knew a lot of stuff. I just didn't know how I knew these things until obviously I had my awakening and learned a lot, as well as developed certain parts of myself, which makes it significantly easier for me to communicate with my guides and perceive what they're saying. Because our guides are actually always trying to subtly help us And they can only give us as much information as we can actually sort of digest and take without losing our shit too soon. Because there will come a point in your spiritual development where you will feel like you're losing yourself, but you kind of need to lose this fake version of yourself in order to embody your real actual self, your multidimensional self, which is completely unlimited and very intelligent and capable of all things. It's just a matter of connecting with it and embodying that, and that takes a bit of time. And there's a whole team working with you, really. So the language they use is symbolic. So basically, if you have psychic vision, or let's say your third eye is active, and they communicate with you by showing you images in your mind's eye, or videos, or reels. They will use like something that has a specific meaning to you, for you personally. So let's say, for instance, for whatever reason, they're using a bee to communicate something with you. Now, when I see a bee in my mind's eye, and then I see a human being's face after I've seen that bee in my mind's eye, I know that that individual cannot be trusted, because that individual is going to take what they can and sort of leave without having any issues, or like, you know, they will dispose of the person once they've taken what they need. To me, that's what a bee person is. To you and to other people, a bee might be someone who is like really hardworking, looks after its queen, goes after the sweet things in life, is really pragmatic and disciplined, and and yes, it's those things as well. But the reason for me a bee person isn't necessarily someone who has good positive intentions is because, from my experience and my understanding of bees, really, especially the honeybees, the ones that have their queens. I don't know if all bees have queens. I don't think they do. I think there are some bees like burrow bees who literally just live solidarity lives. But anyway, so basically what these honeybees do to their queen, once they're done with their queen, like the queen spends its whole friggin' life just making more bees, you know, making more soldiers, more workers, whatever it needs to do for the hive, to keep the hive alive and growing and strong. So it spends its whole life literally living an imprisoned life inside of its hive. It doesn't get to go around and smell all these flowers and have this nectar. It doesn't have that freedom, actually, so I think it's imprisoned. It spends its whole life birthing and giving to this entire group of bees in its hive. And what happens is, once the season changes and it's time to, you know, lock up and spend winter in the hive and enjoy whatever they've worked for, they literally get the queen bee, drag it out and chuck it outside the hive, and then the queen bee like starves or freezes to death or whatever happens, you know, that's it, they're done with it. So they dispose of it. So when my guides show me a bee in my mind's eye and then a person's face, I'm like, okay, this is the kind of person. So then I will know how much to give or not give, or do I even want to interact with that individual. Most of the time, no, unless I know that I am being asked to interact with that person because I need to sort of give them some information, or maybe help raise their vibration or something. Like, I'll still do my duty, but I won't let them in. Did I mention that you will receive the guides you receive or work with depends on the work you're doing. So if you're on a shamanic path, like myself, you will have a number of different sort of groups of spirit guides, and each of them sort of work in different dimensions and different planets. So when I go to the underworld, I have my power animal there, and its purpose isn't just to guide me, but it also protects me. And if I'm going to sort of go to a planet in a different dimension, I will often go there with my main group of spirit guides. They're with me all the time. So we have the main ones that are with us all the time. They've been there since birth and past incarnations. And then sometimes I've had this where I'll meet a group of spirit beings, spirit guides, that I will work with for a few weeks to help someone else So they're not really actually my spirit guides, but they kind of are, because they're guiding me to helping this other human being who's their actual being that they're guiding. Or I might be undergoing some sort of training, and during that training period I have had certain spirit guides work with me and help me. So I've worked with a number of pharaohs and Egyptian gods and goddesses, and their main purpose was to teach me the occult, which is really fun. And depending on your path, your incarnation, and the reason you're here, you may encounter spirit beings that will try to pretend to be your spirit guides. Whether it's to, I mean, they have different various reasons for doing this. Some of them want to sort of be around you so they can learn from you and indirectly experience things. Some of them will try to pretend to be your spirit guide, a good guide, so that it can throw you off course because it doesn't have good intentions. So not every spirit or not every entity that presents itself as a spirit guide is a being of love and light. But not everyone will encounter that, although every human being does perceive both sides of things in life, but that's a different topic. Like, we all have negative and positive influences. Things go deeper than that. I think I've covered most of it. If I've missed anything, I'll write in the description below. Okay, let's talk about that. So light beings, how they feel. Beings that have good intentions and are good beings, good spirit guides, you will feel their presence next to you, and it will feel uplifting, it will feel good, you'll feel loved, you'll feel loving, you'll feel expansive, your body might tingle, you'll get these really nice physical sensations, and you'll feel like, damn, like I am unlimited. Because when those kind of beings are next to you, their high vibration will raise your vibration too. Now, beings of negative intentions, which I call shadow beings, we call shadow beings, me and my guys and some other people that I've come across. Now these shadow guys don't feel nice when they're around you. Like, you feel its presence next to you and you're like, oh, you might feel a bit of fear, because we're actually energetically very perceptive. It's just our human mind doesn't quite know how to register or understand things. But physically, you can feel that there's a presence in the room, and it doesn't feel good. Even if it's telling you, let's say you're telepathic and it's communicating with you telepathically and saying, I am your angel guide and I'm going to help you achieve this in life. If it doesn't feel good and it's making you feel painful, achy, intimidated, threatened, and if it's trying to get you to do things that are not nice things, like if it's trying to get you to lie and cheat, cut corners, step on someone else to achieve something, that's not a good guide. Good guides don't need you to cheat, because good guides know that you can achieve and will achieve everything and anything you want to, just simply by wanting it, doing the steps, going through the process, and just keeping your intentions pure. Keep your intentions pure. Someone else's development and achievement has nothing to do with you. Your only competition is yourself, your ego, really. Also, some low vibrational spirit guides will try to physically connect to you, like attach themselves to you. The way I have felt this is it feels like a poke, and initially it might just be like a small, subtle, oh, like it feels a bit tense here, but it kind of feels to me like it feels like a poke. It feels a bit tense. And over time, if you don't get rid of it, it might feel like a knot. That whole part of you might start aching. Your body just won't feel good. You'll feel drained of energy, you'll feel tired, you'll feel confused, fearful, angry, thrown off balance. If a being presenting itself as a spirit guide makes you feel that way, that's not good. We'll touch on that later. Okay. A light being, or rather let's talk about shadow being again. If you've got a guide that is teaching you the occult, but it's asking you or guiding you to casting curses or spells and whatnot onto other people or situations, That's a no-no. You don't curse anyone. You don't meddle in anybody else's free will. So, as an example, let's say I am in love with this person and that person doesn't want to be with me. And then this shadow being, shadow guide, who's pretending to be a nice guide, might come to me and be like, hey, how about let's do this spell work? This is how you do it. And the spell work, basically, some of the words are like, I want this person to fall in love with me, and I want this person to realize how amazing I am, and X, Y, and Z. That's a no-no. You can't want to twist and bend someone else's will for your personal gain. A light being may come to you and be like, okay, we're gonna do this sort of ceremony, or this kind of, I mean, you can call it spell work, I suppose, but it's gonna be along the line of asking like the universe, God. It's like putting a petition in and saying, like, I want to find somebody who will love me the way I love them, or I want to find someone who is a good match for me, someone who will give me X, Y, and Z. So you put it out a petition as if this is the kind of person you want in your life as your partner. You're not breaching anyone's free will. You're just letting the universe know this is what I want and this is of importance to me and these are the specifications. And that person will come to you. Sometimes it will literally happen the same day. Sometimes it might take a few days, weeks, maybe even months. And if it's taking that long, it might be because your vibration isn't quite there yet. Maybe you think you want something, but when you achieve it, it might not be good for you. So it will only really come to you when it's the right time. Unfortunately, quite frustrating for me as a human, there is a thing called divine timing. We can, speed things up and stuff like that, but it mostly comes through personal development. This other thing does happen too. I've experienced this a few times, and it was right at the start of my awakening a few years ago. If for whatever reason you're not able to perceive or understand your spirit guides, and your spirit guide or guides have something significant and important to tell you, it's like they will suddenly download themselves into a human being for a few seconds, tell you what they need to tell you, and then they'll go. And then that person won't even realize that's happened. So that's happened to me before. I've literally been sitting next to somebody, having a regular conversation, having a cup of tea. Suddenly, I can sense the energy shifted. I'll look over or whatever, and I can see, shit, you're not the person I'm talking to. You feel like my guide, and suddenly it will start speaking to me, through that person, and say, look, Birchin, this is X, Y, and Z, and then it's gone. It will leave. Those aren't possessions, and that can only really happen with human beings who have allowed that to happen, and that's through your higher self. You agree to certain things, you agree to do certain things, and you conduit to certain other beings before you incarnated, or even during your incarnation. When we're sleeping, we actually work with our spirit team a lot more. I receive a lot of training and information while I'm asleep. So that happens, and from my understanding, nothing negative happens to the person who was a conduit in that moment. And that applies to things like animals and insects and stuff. I've had quite a few interesting and funny experiences. So they can communicate with us in pretty much any way. It's just a matter of us being able to perceive or understand or even accept, because they don't always sound as you expect them to sound. I thought that all spirit guides were these angelic beings who spoke really softly and who wouldn't swear and stuff like that. But actually quite a few of those spirit guides have they don't sound so angelic, but their intentions are. Their intentions are purely to help uplift humanity, civilization, some of them just for this universe, some of them work in the multiverses. I think that's it. If it isn't, I will write it down below. Okay, well I hope this has been useful, and if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments box below and I will try to answer them for you.